if we have foreign nationals engaged in illegal demonstrations here in the United States, and we have foreign nationals here in the United States supporting terrorist activities abroad and the overthrow of our nation, they should be thrown out. Thrown out immediately. And there's zero interest from this administration to do so. Are you aware of any federal arrest of any of these communists in the last week or two? I'm not. Where are the feds? In location after location, Columbia University, UCLA, there was a battle between the communist protesters and so-called counter-protesters that lasted for 3 hours. You know, some colleges and some student bodies are standing against it, while others are kowtowing to the commies. We have this nice video of students in Ole Miss singing the Pledge of Allegiance in the face of these anti-American communists. And they say they're there to free Palestine. No, they're there to overthrow America. Free Palestine is just the latest code word they have for a communist revolution. I don't know, do we have that Ole Miss video? And compare and contrast that to the communists up in Colombia, both students and outside so-called agitators. Oh, did you know that there are outside agitators now that come in and incite violence and other lawlessness? It's interesting to know, because you weren't allowed to mention that with relation to January 6th. But here what was going on up in Colombia. Oh, there's my tweet on it. Chaos actors. I mean, the left, you know, this Antifa movement, this communist movement to overthrow America is still active, and they see these campus protests as a vehicle that they help manage, create, and escalate to achieve their radical revolution. The communist terrorist protests on college campuses are about as organic as plastic straws. Why do they all look the same? It looks like they all buy. It looks like they're all using the same tents. Let's look at the video of them, the violent insurrectionist going into the one of the school buildings in Columbia University. I mean, just look how violent it is. The New York City police finally came in and cleared it out after Columbia, the leadership of Columbia. The liberal elites are going to get America destroyed because of their coddling of their communist comrades. I mean, they're not literally all communists, although many of them are Marxist in orientation. Much of the academy at the university level and the social, I'll call it the soft sciences, you know, not, although it's now seeping into hard sciences, it's Marxist in orientation. So it's inherently revolutionary. So these students always have a friendly environment. And when they go and put tents up on the property, it's inherently an escalation. It's a violation of the rules. It's often a violation of the law. And campus leaders often refuse initially to deal with it. In fact, many campuses have negotiated. I think Northwestern, for instance, there was a report negotiated essentially how to advance the revolution. Jonathan Turley, who went to Northwestern, reported how that university reportedly reached a negotiated settlement with protesters to include a committee to consider divesting from Israel. Now, when you hear divesting from Israel, that means they want to destroy Israel. That's code for destruction of Israel. And special housing for Muslim students in addition to other concessions. And so when they talk about special housing for Muslim students, that's segregation. And of course, the left now supports segregation based on ethnicity, religion, and other reasons. I thought we were opposed to segregation. No, the left doesn't oppose segregation if it advances the revolution. And the way to advance the revolution is to divide America, cause chaos and instability in our nation. And thankfully, there are local police who are trying to enforce the law. We have some video, I think, of a Georgia state trooper here taking on one of the communists. Let's go to that video. There you go, that trooper. Look at him tackling him. Boom. He must have played football in a previous life. And it looks like the same trooper picked up this kid like a rag doll. Look at this as he's trying to enforce the law. Drops dead. Dead weight. Oh! I'm still not sure, and I don't mean this as an insult, whether it was a man or a woman. I'm assuming it's a man. But if I were only 25 years younger, I'd love to be able to do that. I'm sure many of you would too. But God bless that trooper for enforcing the law. And and pray for the police that they're not harmed as they try to enforce the law against those who would destroy America. And compare and contrast, it can't be said enough, the federal government's treatment of these insurrectionists with the treatment of the January 6th defendants. So they go and engage in the takeover of UCLA, a public institution, in order to change a policy? Isn't that insurrection? Where's the federal government investigating this? It's clear it's a national movement. I guarantee you there's a transnational aspect to it, foreign funding. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal, I guess it was last week, and I was reading it, and they quoted some seemingly radical commie type, and and it was the name of an organization I've never heard of before. So I said, I wonder what this group was about, and I went and looked it up, and it's like Black Lives Matter initially was not an independent entity. It was what is called under the IRS rules a fiscally sponsored organization, meaning it was essentially a creature wholly of another entity. And in the case of Black Lives Matter, at least the major group, it initially was the creature of a foundation or an entity that had ties to terrorists. And so that became a controversy. And they moved over to another left-wing group where they were fiscally sponsored. And I think eventually they spun off and became their own entity. But the left has perfected this technique of fiscally sponsoring organizations. So let's say technically Judicial Watch could do it. We could decide to create a fiscally sponsored organization, and it would be called something else. And the organization could do anything they could within the law governing C3 organizations. They get all the benefits of being a nonprofit charity like Judicial Watch and can engage in similar activity or activity allowed for under those rules. But essentially it's Judicial Watch, and we can turn it on and turn it off anytime we want. And the right really hasn't done much of that at all, but the left has been doing it hundreds and hundreds of groups. And so that's, to me, a very interesting point to be made in terms of understanding how this is being funded and organized. It's usually quite, it's not like it's an octopus where there's tens of thousands of people supporting this activity financially. It's a few left-wing foundations that are supporting this violent activity. Now, under the new rules and the rules that they were pursuing against Trump world, and anyone who dared to dispute an election, you would think, fairly applied, they would be investigating everyone behind these violent eruptions. But no. Biden couldn't be bothered to say anything about it till the other day, and then it was like, oh, both sides do it, and He didn't necessarily condemn the goals of these groups, which is to destroy America and to destroy Israel. I mean, there was another video we wanted to show some of the craziness going on. I forget, what was it? The third video we were going to do the look in. So I encourage you to share this video with your friends and family and colleagues, because they may not see this violence. If they're not watching the news, or they're not like hyper online like many of us are who are activists. I mean, just because you've seen it doesn't mean your friends and family have seen it, but that's today's left. And you're getting a free pass from the Biden administration and tacit support. Members of Congress are supporting the communists over the police. AOC keeps on tweeting out support, attacking the police for daring to enforce the law, or the very idea that the laws would be enforced against these communists. And again, I'm not going to pretend they're protesters who are pro-Palestinian. I don't even know what that means. Israel is in a war with Hamas, a terrorist organization. So what does that have to do with Palestinians? You support, it's like saying I'm pro-German when you're at war with the Nazis. What does that mean? And what's Biden's response to this? Oh, well, maybe I'll bring in some of these Palestinian supporters of terrorism here to the United States, the refugees. You know how that's going to work out. And I'd like to know how many foreign nationals are involved in these demonstrations designed to overthrow the United States. Someone posted, and I noted, the more you know, at Northeastern. Is that what it says, Northeastern? 58% of students are foreign students. At Columbia, 55% are foreign students. So does that mean they were all, that those are similar numbers out front? I don't know. But don't you want to know that? Because it seems to me, if we have foreign nationals engaged in illegal demonstrations here in the United States, and we have foreign nationals here in the United States supporting terrorist activities abroad and the overthrow of our nation, they should be thrown out. Thrown out immediately. And there's zero interest from this administration to do so. Now, you can be sure that it's not just going to be me talking about this right now. We have probably, I would say, 10 to 15 FOIAs already out there on these campus demonstrations. So we're going to try to figure out what went on, who's covering it up, who failed to act to protect students. I mean, if you're a Jew on these college campuses, what must you be thinking? We had this poor kid, there's a video of this poor kid, he's trying to make the point, it looked like, to try to get into his campus, and this is what happened to him. Looks like a Jewish student.
You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't they go? Will you let me go in? This could be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in to class.
We're not engaging with that.
Then you can move. Will you move?
We're not engaging with that.
Okay, we're going. We're going. I'm going in. I have my hands up. I'm not hurting them.
I tell you, I would probably try to get past them. He's more patient than I would be. And it's not just the commie students, they're commie faculty members engaging in this vicious anti-Jew, anti-American communism. Look it up in Colombia. They're defending the students with lawless activity. And law and order. But let's end on a good note. There were these brave students, I think, in to UNC, who were defending the American flag. Getting attacked. See a water bottle getting thrown in the set. So they find Americans, patriots, at these schools, and they're the ones being victimized. And some of them are brave, and it's here in our nation's capital as well. George Washington University, where I went to school, has been taken over by the Hamas terrorist wing. Left-wing terrorist supporters, protected from arrest by Democratic D.C. Mayor Bowser, seek to expel all Jews from Israel. Students will leave, look at this. Students will leave when Israelis leave. Students will go back home when Israelis go back to Europe. Their real homes. And this is what's happening here in D.C. The Democratic mayor of D.C., this happened over the weekend. Mayor Bowser ordered the police to stand down, and the chief of police did this too, and refused a request from George Washington University to remove leftist terrorist supporters illegally occupying the campus. And the Washington Post reported specifically, officers had assembled around 3 a.m. and were prepared to enter the encampment, but senior leaders in the police chief's and mayor's office ordered them to stand down, the official said. Today's chaos, and by the way, did you see this White House Correspondents' Dinner? It was chaos. Of course, the media does, it was their party. They didn't want to ruin it by reporting the full truth about what was going on. There was chaos on the streets outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And the dinner is located at a big hotel in the center of D.C., and the attendees had to walk through, and it was a presidential event, so security was heightened because Joe Biden was there to cackle with his friends, attacking Trump and conservatives. But they had to walk through crowds of harassing communist terrorist supporters, and it further confirms the extremist left have effective control of our nation's capital. It can shut down the city on a whim, largely because the folks running this city allow it to happen. And if you want to know how January 6th happened, that's how it happened. Because security was not present on January 6th because they thought having a secure presence or a significant police presence at the U.S. Capitol, whether it be National Guard or D.C. Police or federal authorities generally, would have benefited President Trump. And they didn't want to do it. Because I'm convinced they thought their leftist friends were going to come up and beat up Trump supporters, and they didn't want the cops to get in the way. And it turned into the situation it turned into on January 6th because of the lack of security as that crowd came up to the Capitol and chaos ensued. Ugh. So hopefully things calm down. I was thinking maybe things will calm down a little bit because all these loser students are going to be going home in the next month or so, back to their rich families who evidently they want to destroy too, because they're part of the system they want to overthrow in the communist revolution. But I guess, the media isn't interested in figuring out who's doing this, right? I mean, if you're a Columbia student, you're typically there because you come from a successful background. Your family is successful. Every student obviously isn't like that, but most are. And when you're talking about these major colleges and universities, almost everyone there is from privileged backgrounds. And there's nothing wrong from coming from a privileged background. But we have to recognize these are the elites who are trying to destroy your country. With the support, tepid sometimes, quiet, or vocal, if you're AOC, of elected officials here in Washington, D.C., and people who know better in the states, etc. I mean, the next big fight, potentially, or the next big civil unrest, I don't know how soon these college campuses are going to stop. Democratic National Committee, they have their convention, I think, in August. And then the Republican convention, or actually Republican conventions before that in July in Milwaukee. The chaos actors will seek to cause chaos to undermine America during our election season with the goal of destroying the country. Let's be blunt about it. And it's up to you, dear American citizen, to ensure that your leaders enforce the rule of law. All of that you saw happening is the result of failures of leadership by college university presidents, or here in D.C. by the mayor and the police chief. When you see lawlessness, especially in a mass civil context like this, it's the result of political decision-making. It doesn't have to be this way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.